This is a tape I made of the event in homage to the great Bob Fass, who has for 43 years presented his pioneering free-form radio show on Pacifica's WBAI in New York City. It was taped on February 9th, 2005 at Yaffa Cafe in Tribeca, New York.
And never knowing what's going to happen. And spontaneity is something that's so desperately needed in society. And like a lot of people here, I work with young kids all the time. You know, so I wish I was born the time when you guys were around. I said, well, Charlie Parker said 1945, but now is the time. So now is always the time. 2005 is the time. In fact, Bob's still here, WBAI is still here, New York City is still here, and all these good things haven't been stomped out. Whether or not they're on the cover of the New York Times, Sunday's supplement section, or CNN, really doesn't make any difference, because with the World Wide Web and the Internet, all of that now has a relevance in terms of place, but the huge monster entertainment industry, death culture, bad globalization, horrible landfill trash that's dumped on our people, now is not the only thing to look at or even be oppressed by. It was just one of the many options that are there. BAI is still the last survivor of something before the Internet and the World Wide Web that gave us another alternative. And I guess it's always going to be here. We have to keep it here. We have to keep Bob Fass here because he's one of our national treasures. I'm going to play a very fast tune.
Play the William Fellow, drawing your head, please.
Oh. I'm going to play something a little more elegant. That's a request. That was the only thing we ever did to raise money. In fact, I did that at the Village Gate in 1969 at the end of the Middle Eastern peace we did. I played the melody banging on my head. And do any of you remember Maurice, the great newspaper man? Yeah. Greenwich Village, he was the mayor of Greenwich Village. Yeah. So had the same symbol. He was a real old timer, a long time ago. And he said,
David, I've known you since you were a boy, but frankly, man, that's in very bad taste.
So I haven't done it in public since 1969. But Steve, for you, I will do.
First I'll hold the microphone.
This is from Rossini's William Tell Overture. Don't do this at home. You're driving heavy equipment.
said?
Last time I looked.
You were a musician?
Yeah.
For many years?
Yeah. It's been 30 years since I played on Bob's show at least.
Yeah. What is it you play?
I'm a guitar player.
Guitar player? Yeah. Well, what brings you to this event?
I found out about it, and Bob was very important in my career and in my life, and I'm really happy to be here to honor him.
Me too.
Hey, Billy, how you doing? It's Clayton here. We're over here at Bob Fass's party, having a wonderful time. Wish you were here. Everything's great, and I want to come by and see you soon. So hello from Clayton to Bob Fass. Yeah, I've known Bob Fass for years. Bob Fass being very instrumental in the Lower East Side scene. Bob was extremely important during the years that I was involved, certainly 1988 and beyond, was on his program many times, as well as Julie Kugelberg.
News cable show.
To whose?
Bill Kropp, Bob's assistant, for many years.
Whose cable show?
Julie's cable show.
Oh, Julie's cable show.
Top
Of course.
Taylor
Yes.
show.
Okay.
The footage is good enough.
I do watch Julie's cable show every week when I'm in New York City.
Yeah?
It's on public access, channel 78. I mean, channel, that's without the converter. With the converter, it's,
So, what do you think of this gathering for Bob Fass?
I think it's fantastic. I had no idea that this many people turned out.
Yeah.
It's only the start of some other ones, I think, but that's unofficial. So you didn't hear it from here. You didn't hear it from these lips.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.
Many years.
Say something very important.
All right. Yeah. About
Let me just take your...
right.
So,
Yeah.
I owe everything that I have in my adult life to Bob Fass.
Why is that?
Because in 1966 or 7, I forget which.
Yeah.
1966, I heard Bob Fass on the radio in the middle of the night when I was working at as a security guard at the Phelps Dodge Copper Factory in Bayway, New Jersey. And if you'll remember, there weren't a lot of FM radios around still in those days. And one of the other guards left his radio behind in a booth one night, and I heard Bob Fass playing Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band.
What year was it?
66, I guess, when it came out. Playing it over and over and over again. And each time I came back to the booth, the record was still playing.
Yeah.
And I had never heard anything like this before. And by sunrise, finally, someone stopped and said something. And it was Bob who came on finally and said, "Well, Cabal, that's the new Beatles album." And that's when I fell in love with the whole idea of doing radio.
Oh, amazing.
He was my unofficial mentor, and I unabashedly modeled myself on his style, and so I owe my professional career to Bob Fass.
Thank you very much, Mr. Scelsa.
Thank
It's a
you.
wonderful career. It is a life. Right.
How many nights will you do BAI before you call it a day? And how many years did you think radio before you gave your voice away? And how many hours have you logged on the air? I've been interrupted. And how many hours have you logged on the air? In case one day you have nothing more to say. The answer, Bob Fass, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Yes, and how many years did you hang with Abby Hoffman before the Yippies came alive? And how many thoughts did it take to think beings when kids today have no clue what they were like? And yes, and how many years can we hope to still hear you before Aaron throws all his pies? air, and the answer Bob Fass is blowing in the wind. You can join that. Blowing in the wind, last stanza. And how many dives did you cross in Dylan's path before he came singing on your show? And how many years did you talk late at night before you met and gave voice to our low? And since most of us are over 30 and go to bed earlier than we used to, it's sometimes hard even to catch your late show. So give truth to power. I can't believe I wrote that. Rock steady, Irie-mon. Keep on keeping on. The answer may stop blowing in the wind. Thank you. Thanks for your late night show.
Jane Goldberg, that's wonderful. And wasn't that a wonderful sex change operation that Dylan had?
Thank you.
Now, by the way, there's just one more thing I want to say to Bob, and that goes to another reason why we're here, which is to support him. And the thing about Bob is he never thought about himself in all of this giving. He never thought about money. All of us got out of WBAI sort of in the nick of time, and we found a way to make a living of some sort. And Bob stayed. He's still there, as we all know. And the only people that don't know he's still there are the management of WBAI, which unfortunately do not honor him and don't know what he's done. Pacifica is an organization that eats its history. And it's up to the people who listen and who work there to keep that history alive. There are people who've written books about it, but so that and Bob is nothing but Bob is he's never compromised. He has remained pure to his ideals, sometimes to the great frustration of some of us who had to be the manager when he was there. But the fact is that I've never met anybody who has been pure to their ideals about radio, about politics, about war, or whatever it is. So that's another reason why I love and respect him.
Hi, I'm Steve Ben Israel. That's my Christian name. I live here in New York City where I hold seances to try and contact the living. And so far, so good. I met Bob Fass in 1961. We were in Threepenny Opera over there on Christopher Street, singing "Let's All Go Bombing, Let's Join the Army, See the World We Never Saw." And I learned a lot being in Threepenny Opera, my early 20s, and there was Bob, and we became friends. But we became friends later on, and I got friends with him even before I got friends. I was working in a place called the Phase 2 in Liquor Street in late '61, and Bob walked in there one night and said, I got this thing, I think I'm going to be doing something about radio. I couldn't figure what he meant by radio, back in the early days. So when I was in the Living Theater and I was doing the Brick, the Living Theater in '63, I think, or '64, and I used to go get stoned every night over Gene Gordon's pad. And we used to get stoned over Gene Gordon's pad, about 10 guys who were doing the Brick at the Living Theater, and my friend Gene says, let's get stoned because there's this guy on the radio that you're not going to fucking believe, So he puts it on, and all of a sudden there's like the Shadow, in the early 40s. The Shadow, and there's Tchaikovsky, and then there's Thelonious Monk, and then there's Bertolt Brecht, and there's Monk, and jazz, and Woody Guthrie, and the Shadow, and Brecht. I wondered who's doing this, and I didn't find out for a couple of years that it was my old friend Bob Fass, and all people who were getting stoned in the early '60s were listening to this combination of poetry and music and ideas, and it was really the beginning of something extraordinary that rocketed around the world, and
I've been on Bob's show a few hundred times, and I've made up some wonderful things on his show, and I'm so happy and proud to be here as a friend and as a peer and a colleague to somebody I know who's one of the great men here of America. One of the people who has given so much so that other people can get so much, and has brought beautiful ideas of so many people that are very, very part of our lives. People are part of our beautiful human rights anti-war movement. So I'm just so proud to be here and speak to my great friend Bob Fass.
Thank you, Steve.
I want to say that Bob Fass is the most generous person I've ever met.
Bravo!
When I was the bookkeeper at BAI, and I want to say I was one of the best. I lost the accounts payable book. I went downstairs one day.
Can't hear you.
I went downstairs one day, and there was this fellow by the name of Bob Fass, and I said to him, "I need you to fill out a W-4 form, or is it a W-2 form?" And I said to him, "God, you guys have it easy up there. Just sit on your ass, and once an hour you go to this WBAI New York." He said to me, "You think so?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Come on up after you're finished." And he taught me how to edit tape. He taught me how to speak on the air as if I was speaking to one single person. He was the holder of these gifts, and he was never loath to share them. And I love him as a brother.
Here's Aaron Kaye.
May know me as Pieman, but I want to say something. Bob, we love you. Hey, I remember first listening to Tribeca when I was living out in L.A. in around 65, listening to KPFK and people like Garland and others. And it led me to New York, where I started listening to Bob Fass when I was living at A.J. Weberman's loft on 6 Bleecker Street, when Bleecker was still the Bowery's hangout. Now it's Trent City. Where have all the Bowery bums gone? They've gone to Bowery bum heaven, wherever that is. Or Giuliani ran them all out. But here's the thing. What I see here is a massive family. Behind each one of us that's here, there are hundreds of other people who have gone through, whose ears and eyes and hearts have gone through the experience of Bob Fass for the past 40 years. You see, all these people try to be imitations. And all these imitations remind me of imitation ice cream that you can get at Med Foods or something. But people like Bob Fass and Uncle Stevie,
Wait, don't push the camera.
Sister Amy Goodman and others,
careful.
we are the real thing because we implant where things are really at. We implant the ability to think in the correct manner to fight the good fight against the George Shrubs, against the Karl Rose who want to take from those that got nothing. You know, come on. They want to cut Medicaid. Don't they realize they do that? The domino theory will be pharmacies will close, hospitals will close, the streets will be in chaos. But we got to keep the chaos, the bad chaos from happening. We got to keep on fighting the good fight. And the thing is, people should know that Bob and those who were inspired by Bob, you know, have to keep that torch going. You got to carry the fire. What I mean is, you know, you can't let that bad water knock it out. So we get all that schmaltziness from the commercial stations, ripping it all off. We got to go deal with the real thing. You know, they all say Coca-Cola or Pepsi's the real thing. So Bob Fass and WBAI, Bobby Dylan, the hippies, the yippies, the black struggle, the Latino struggle, all the struggles, that's the real thing. And the thing is, people think they went to suburbia. They could sit back with their large screen TV and say, the struggle's over. And they can sit there and read the New York Post. But don't they know that it's going to hit home, baby? I mean, 28 years ago, we had to struggle to keep the people's control of the station. Everybody remember what happened there when the station was shut down for more than a month, thanks to certain elements of Pacifica. We had Anna Kissoff running the show. You know, and I remember for years, Bob got knocked off the air. And I remember myself and other folks kept advocating, we want Bob back on the air because we needed Bob. And I'd hide the hack, Ralph Engelmaus. You know, blueberry pie from the restaurant around the corner, 1st Avenue and 62nd Street. And then Ralph Engelmaus comes over to our side in the end, supposedly. I know. Hey, but anyway now, I want to wind things down. I'm being asked by Larry. You remember, this week was the 35th anniversary of the trial in Chicago, which was a struggle for free speech. This is still a struggle for free speech. Free speech wins. It's a fresh wind that blows against the empire. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Clayton, and I've known Bob for a long time. I've been involved in the struggle on the Lower East Side, gone to court for 15 years. I just had a trial and lost in 7 minutes. But actually, it was Bob's show that kept that whole period alive for a long time. And during the homeless struggle and the squatter struggle and the evictions and the police brutality and all of those causes, which were Lower East Side and mostly hidden because they were not really that popular, but Bob made his program accessible to everybody. And for so many of us, it was the only voice that we had to get out into the public, because the Village Voice wouldn't touch the story. New York Press and most of the newspapers wouldn't. And really the one that did was Bob Fass. And Bob was really instrumental and extremely important, and certainly in my life. And Bob kept the struggle alive, and it's really, that's why his archives are really extremely important. I know that there's the Bob Dylans and all these other people, but there are a lot of other people that Bob has interviewed and has an extremely important archive. It's an amazing history. And that archive really has to be maintained and put together and saved. And I really hope that this does that. And, you know, we all know and love Bob Dylan, but we're not Bob Dylan. And the struggle continues. And it really takes the voices and the people like Bob to do that. And so I really have to say I love you, Bob, and thank you very much. And it's really, really appreciated what you've done. Thank you.
I'm a squatter on the Lower East Side, but we're not squatters anymore. Karl Rosenstein, and like Bob wasn't afraid to put the most violent, most angriest movement, most militant movement in the whole East Coast, if not the whole country, on his show, and invite us on. And I called Bob up one night after we've been evicted from our first squat that I lived in on Houston Street. Bob said, sure, come on up. After that, every time something happened on the Lower East Side, Bob wasn't afraid to give us the time, the space, to come and tell our side of the story, because sure as hell the Post and the other pig press, the pig media, we New York and a big America wasn't going to let us tell our side of the story. It was only because of WBAI and Bob to say thank you, Bob.
Hi, everybody. It's good to be here tonight to share this evening with you and Mr. Fass. I just want to say a couple of things and maybe sing a quick little song. I'm Garland Jeffries, and nice to be here tonight. In the 60s, Bob let me come and sing.